everyone! In this episode, I will show you how to download and set up this program called PureRef. I will also show you a few features I find very useful that are available in this version of PureRef, which is now currently 2.0. So in the search engine, you have to type in PureRef, and it is the first thing that pops into the search. Click on the download, and here we are. You're presented with a version you have to choose from. For example, I'm going to be using the 2.0 version, which is the most recent one. And below we can see the highlights for this version or things they added and improved. For example, GIF playback, however you say it, is now available and supported. You can draw on the images, and grouping and hierarchy has been overall improved. Then you need to actually choose purpose for which you are going to use the PureRef. For example, I'm just now going to select personal for the showcase and choose the platform you are on. For example, for me, it is Windows. And then we come to the pricing, so you can pay $15, $7, or choose the custom amount, which can be more or less than those prices. You can even get it for free by typing in 0, but I do recommend giving them any contribution since they really do care about improving their program and adding new amazing features. It is basically a must-have for artists and other users. And then here we have the checkout, so we're getting one PureRef for free. You want to now click on download, and the installation process will begin, so just wait a couple seconds. And here it is. Now we have the setup window available. Yes, I want to make changes. Here we have the license agreement, so feel free to take your time to read it. I already have read it, so I'm just going to accept it and move on. Here you can set the location where you want your PureRef to be, and you can see it only takes up the space of 52 or 53 megabytes. You want to click on next. Here we have some customization options or components, however they are called. For example, you can choose if you want it to be displayed as a desktop shortcut or even a start menu shortcut. So start menu is accessible by pressing the Windows key, which is basically here, so your PureRef is going to be here. Or you can just press escape, control escape, and it's going to give you the same window. Okay, now let me return here. You also have the export thumbnails, which is pretty new thing. For example, if you have some images in your PureRef, those images are going to be displayed as a thumbnail. And it is pretty useful if you want to know what images are in there and you forgot the name of the file. And I will just make sure this is checked on because it is actually an amazing feature. Then we have file associations, which means you can choose the types of files that will be opened by PureRef on default. So if I check this, I have this little plus icon, and it means all these files I check, for example, JPEG file, will be opened defaultly by PureRef. But I will not mess with it, so I will just make sure it is unchecked. And you also have the remove previous settings. If you have a version before and you want it to be clean, just click this. But for now, I'm just going to leave this as it is and click on next and begin the installation. Wow, that took a very long time, as you can see. Of course, I'm just going to check this box here, so it means the PureRef will start when I click finish. And here it is. It's pretty amazing. So, if I right click while in the window mode, I can actually drag and move it around. So I just right click and move it around. And I can even scale the window. For example, by grabbing it here, hovering over the edge, I can scale it up and down. And you can see the shape is very, very flexible. I can even scale a single side by hovering over the side I want to scale and make it bigger or smaller. It also has pretty few interesting features, as you can see. When I go to the Chrome or to the desktop, you can see it is on top. That is because if I, for example, go here, we have few options we can configure. So I can disable always on top. And if I go to the Chrome, you can see now it is not here. It is only on the desktop. So let me just go here. And when I click always on top, there's actually two options. So I can enable it to be always on top, so absolute. If I have 20 programs open, it will always appear on top. And then we have the option always on top of. So I can just click a window to attach the PureRef. For example, if I go to this, now it is here. And now it is not on the desktop, but only on the Chrome. For example, this is pretty useful. You can attach it to your Blender screen or Substance Painter screen, so when you go, for example, to Chrome or other app, you will not see it there. But let me just real quick disable it and enable always on top defaultly. Some other options that we can configure here are, for example, the overlay mode, and the images we put are actually going to be displayed here without the windows. So they are going to be in this region, so in the region of the screen, and are going to be transparent. Let me just show you. So I will just disable this option here. Let me show you in practice. So if I want to get images here, I can click browse my files and put them, or I can just click drag and drop the image of my liking. For example, this little seahorse we are doing in our course on YouTube currently. And now let me enable the overlay mode. And now it makes much more sense. So you can see the image is literally on the screen. I can move it around. And it's actually pretty nice since you do not have the black border distracting you from it. Okay, let me now disable this option. And if I want to move in this screen, I can use the scroll wheel to zoom in or out. And left click to select. And I can just press and hold middle mouse button to pan around the viewport. So zoom in, zoom out with the scroll wheel. Click and drag to select. And middle mouse to move around. Of course, the same thing for the window as it is for the image. I can scale it around. And even move the image if I left click and then drag it around. Here, as you can see, if I hover, I have one more option. Enable transparent to mask mode, but I will not actually use that feature. And if I want to get to the settings, I can either hover here, click it, or right click in this window, which opens up a bunch other options. For example, the general settings are located here. You can just change the performance, appearance, so you can change colors of certain things, themes. For example, it has dark, light, and glass theme, which is pretty interesting. Saving and loading, window, images, and the one I found also useful is the keyboard shortcuts. So you can see the existing ones or even make your own here. Then we also have the systems. For example, check on startup, or you can even check for updates, which is pretty useful. Here you can save and export the current settings or store to defaults. And then if I right click, there are many more other things I can do. For example, I really find the note option useful. It gives me the ability to actually type in text and move it around alongside the images. For example, let me type in Seahorse. Let me just move with my middle mouse button. Here we can change the color. For example, I want it to be like a baby blue color. And if I want to apply the changes, I actually want to select the text and then choose the color. For example, here we have recent, the horse. It looks pretty nice. And of course, every time you click on the text, you can edit, for example, the highlight color, make it italic, or choose even the size. And once again, I can always click and drag it around. It's pretty useful when it comes to labeling references. So if you have many of them, you can just store them into categories. For example, here I will have some images of seahorses. On the other hand, I will have some images of the environment, and so on and so on. Of course, let us add actually a few more images into the scene. For example, this seahorse here, and this one here. And you can see they are not all the same size, but there is a pretty easy way to fix that. So for example, if I select both of those images, of course I can move them around together. What I will do is I will right click, go to the images, normalize, and choose size. This will actually make them equal. It is actually pretty useful. And for example, this picture here, you can see it has some extra stuff that I do not want, and I can actually even crop it from PureRef. So what I will do is I will right click, go to the images, collection, and here we have the crop image. It gives me those handles, which I can move like this. And then click on the screen, and here we have cropped version. Let me now select all these ones, so I can even click and hold shift to select one by one. And I can right click, go to the images, arrange. I can arrange them by optimal, name, path, or the file path, edition, or order, how I like to do. So by selecting them and making them in order, you can see now they are perfectly lined up. And it's actually pretty amazing. Another useful feature is if I hold shift, control, and then with my left click on the selected image, I can actually mirror it, which is pretty useful. Or you can hold control to spin it around if you see fit. And the most newest option we have available is actually the draw option. So either press Ctrl D or just right click to select draw. You will get this little pen which you can then draw. For example, I find this very important, so I must not forget to make the bubbles, so I will circle them. Or for example, I need to pay attention to this, I'll make a little arrow. And then once you're done, you need to click on this X or press escape to close. And it actually stays here. You can also right click, you can click here, save as, or even export it. And I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you found this little tutorial helpful, and I'll catch you in the next video.